Hi again, welcome back to the second half, a non-stop chat as you'd expect right the way through the half-time break here in the studio. And we'll just carry that on with Craig Armstrong, former player with Sheffield Wednesday, now an FA talent spotter for the England team, future England teams, a new generation. And James Gregg joins us with a roundup of lots of events over the weekend, not just the Reds versus Blues charity game, which for those who missed the details earlier, boxer Dan Slaney is among celebrities who are booked to appear. So is Mel Sterland, I think the organisers have heard today, and Paul Manners of Britain's Got Talent fame, plus the likes of Matt Hamshaw, Carl Bradshaw, and any number of ex-Sheffield players, including the man that I'm joined by here, Craig. England v Iceland. I've given you a nice, comfy, cosy first half. We didn't come down to that performance, and a day of national shame. There's no other way of describing it. How do you rationalise us losing to Iceland like that?
It's disappointing, obviously. You know, we all want to progress and we all want to win tournaments, and I think what disappoints me is the media are very quick to jump on these players, always talking about the financial side of it, how much money they earn. Let me get one thing straight, these players don't get paid to play for England. However, yes, they've let themselves down first and foremost, and they have let the country down. But if you look at Iceland, they finished second in the group. I think they beat Holland twice. They beat Czech Republic in the qualifying groups to go through. They're not a bad side.
No, and nobody's saying they're a bad side.
I think where we are as a country, we expect to win. Where I still think we're in transition. We're the third youngest squad in the European Championships. Yes, we're not the youngest, but we're the third youngest. I don't think we've got exceptionally fantastic players. I think we've got really good players, and maybe we can talk about formations. Maybe that potential tactics that might have cost us or might not have, but it looked to me against Iceland, you go 1-0 up. I think if we don't concede after 30 seconds, I think we're going to win the game 4-5.
But we do, and we concede two terrible goals.
They are terrible goals, but you know, we spoke in the break about, you know, Joe Hart for me is the best keeper in the country. And yes, he's made 2 mistakes. Yeah. But if you look at the qualifiers, the amount of times he's been called upon and he's pulled off saves and not made mistakes, he's always going to be remembered for that. And then people jump on the bandwagon and think, you know, he shouldn't be playing and he shouldn't be playing. We talk about Wayne Rooney. Should never have gone. Shouldn't be gone. Disgrace he's been took. Yet then he plays the first 3 games or the first 2 games and he's outstanding. He's the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah. Then he doesn't play so well against Iceland. And the frustrating thing is, if 1 or 2 players don't perform in a team of 11, regardless of how good you are or not, you will struggle. And on the day, Iceland, for a man, and bearing in mind, I think they've started with the same 11 for all 4 games. They've had the continuity. They've got into their stride. They understand their roles and responsibilities. They understand how they're going to win games, and they've counter-attacked in all 4 games they've played. And yet we change things and we try and get a bit clever about it.
We give due credit to Iceland, but it shouldn't surely, Craig, be about how good they were. It should be about how bad we were relative to the supposed ability. I mean, the money doesn't come into it for me. Where I do agree with you, people say, oh, they earn too much, so they couldn't care. Well, I don't think anybody likes being humiliated in front of millions of people. Just, you know, everybody's going to care about that.
I just think it's... Listen, I'm disappointed like the next one. You know, I didn't even know there was a game on tonight. Someone said, what do you think of the score tonight? And I said, who's playing? I'm actually not interested. I will watch it.
What, in international football?
I'm not interested in the rest of the tournament, if I'm being honest. You know,
not now.
No, I'll watch Wales and I want Wales to do well.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of social media going around about how they reacted when England got knocked out. I do think that's a little bit disrespectful to their teammates, but maybe that shouldn't have been videoed and that shouldn't have been put out there, because but you know, you remember the time Wayne Rooney got sent off against Portugal and the cheeky Ronaldo wink, and yet they're saying, oh, it's a disgrace, they're falling out of clubs. It's what we do. They do it to try and get a reaction, and all of a sudden the media have reacted to it.
I'm glad you're here to defend England a little bit, because they do need defending by somebody.
Yes, they do.
And
you know, listen, I'm disappointed the next, and I generally, someone asked me, who do you think England have got? I actually thought England had a great chance of winning it. Yeah. I'm not just saying that. I don't think Smalling and Cahill have actually done that bad. I don't think Kyle Walker's been our best player, and yet he's been bombasted for making one mistake.
I know. I think that's very, very harsh. But when you look across the board, without pointing at any individual, have we got a leader, a captain, a Tony Adams, or anybody of that ilk there? Anybody?
No, I don't think that we. I think you go back to the Chris Waddle comments about. I don't think we breed enough winners. I think they all want to win. Don't get me wrong, and I think they're proud. And this is something that Roy Hodgson did touch on. 4 or 5 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever, players used to drop out left, right, and centre for England internationals. They didn't want to play. They didn't want to go away. All of a sudden now, even from under 14s, 15s, and 16s age groups, players don't want to drop out. They're getting pulled out by the clubs because they don't want to be sort of burned out.
Harry Kane. I mentioned Harry Kane to you. What are the stats, do you think, on Harry Kane over a young player over 2 seasons and the games that he's played? You gave us an astonishing figure before the programme.
I told you earlier, I had a coffee with Dave Johnson, who's now 21's head of recruitment down at Leicester City. Yeah. And he actually told me, and I was astonished, he's played, I think, 165, 68 games in 2 seasons.
Blimey.
Which is phenomenal. So he's not had a break after playing in England friendlies and qualifiers. He went away with England in 21s, which was a disappointing campaign last season. He's gone straight into the Europa League. He's not scored for 7-8 games. People thinking he's a one-hit wonder. He's then started banging in goals again. They've had a great campaign again. He's then gone straight from the end of the season with no break. So this boy's not had a break in 2 seasons. No wonder he's been terrible. Okay. No wonder he's not performed.
And it's not his fault. He was taking the corners and free kicks either because he's told to do that.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, it was very telling, I thought, when Rooney trotted across to take the first one against Wales and Hodgson sort of stood on the touchline and looked like, what's going on here? Yeah. And you could obviously tell that even the players instantly, with obviously so focused on the game, whether that was a bit of a sticking 2 fingers, but Roy Hodgson saying...
It obviously was, wasn't it? Rooney decided,
he thought, I'm going to go and take these. Yeah.
I applaud that in a way, because something's not working.
I'll be honest, I've been disappointed with all set plays from all nations, if I'm being honest. The only country that I felt done really well, and the only player that attacked any ball was Ramos. I thought every corner and free kick they put in, he seemed to be the one on the end of it. I've been so disappointed with set plays.
The delivery, straight to the man at the near post often, is unforgivable, really.
I was an expert at that.
I mean, the thing is, you see that in your club football, and it's like room 101 for 90% of football fans, isn't it? You sit and
clear the near post.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a guy to flick it on at the near post.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know, you talk about set plays, and I go to Nigel Clough a little bit. So I played for him at Burton, I played with him at Nottingham Forest. And Brian Clough's set plays was 2 set plays. It was either a short one, if it came short, it got delivered. All he used to do was drop a ball on the 6-yard box, a little clip, centre half flicked it on, someone else come in and try and hit it. That's what Nigel Clough did. If you had someone stood at the near stick, you had someone always trapped in the back post for the quality. Sometimes the quality of lower league and League 1, League 2 wasn't as good. Excuse me. And he did that corner. If it went short, it came in. Nothing complicated about it, but it worked. And what's disappointing me about all these set plays is I hate out swinging corners. Yeah. Whip it in near stick, cause the keeper a problem, put it in there with a little bit of pace, or just drop one in and ask the players to go and get on the end of it.
Yeah. Having been a Blade season ticket holder, my views on Nigel Clough's set plays, but there we go.
Okay, well actually they deteriorated last season, didn't they, as well? That was an awful season for everything, but we'll talk about the 2 Sheffield teams, in particular Sheffield Wednesday, because you've got more knowledge of them after James has rounded up a lot of events.
Yeah, 7 sports on our menu tonight. We'll talk quickly about boxing first of all. Kell Brook's fight. Well, there's been a lot of talk about where that's going to be staged and when. It's taken another turn today. Apparently, Bramall Lane, which Kell Brook so desperately wanted as a venue for his world title fight against Jesse Vargas, won't be happening. The new date, unofficially, so I'm told, is October the 8th, and it's possibly going to be at the Sheffield Arena. So more to follow on that. I know that Sheffield United were waiting for the fixtures confirmation. So Kell Brook, unfortunately, may have to wait, and it may have to be at the Sheffield Arena for him. But of course, I'll be updating you on that on this programme. Sheffield Football Club ladies, wow, well, they've had a bit of an international break. Had Zoe Johnson here in the studio last week, their manager. They play against Bristol City in the Women's Super League Cup on Saturday, 6 p.m. at home. If you fancy going down and watching some high-quality football, well, they beat the same team last time out in the league, so bodes well for them heading into that one. Now, there's a big cycling event. You'll have heard this if you're a cycling fan. The Sky Ride event is going on this weekend. Again, it's going to be the final one under that name, and it takes place, starts at Endcliffe Park, finishes at Endcliffe Park. You can hire bikes from Tudor Square. It's very much a festival kind of feel. Elite cyclists are actually cycling on Saturday, and they're having a go up the Cot du Winkerbank, as they call it, at Jenkin Hill. But it was obviously great that when the Grander Park came to Yorkshire. Because all the elite cyclists were going on up there.
I like that.
Yeah, that's what they call it, the Cot de Winkerbank.
Yeah.
So there we are. So that's
that's a hell of a hill going up there.
It is, isn't it?
Jenkin Road, isn't it?
Jenkin Hill, yeah. Very interesting. And I think that's where the elite cyclists will be heading up on Saturday. So really good event if you're a cycling fan, or even if you're not, even if you fancy trying your hand at it. That's free, all free event, and there's loads of festivals, market stalls, food, beer, all that kind of stuff, all around town on Sunday as well for that. Move on to some of the other sport as well, which we cover usually on this programme. Big win for the Sheffield Eagles last week, and in a really bad run of 6 defeats when they beat Featherstone Rovers last weekend. They play against Oldham tomorrow night at home before 2 tough games against Leigh and against the London Broncos as well. I know Keith Senior sent a tweet saying he was delighted to finally get the monkey off the back. No, Mark Aston will be really thrilled to bits with that as well. Of course, brought 2 new loan signings in as well, who haven't yet featured, so it'll be interesting to see how they get on against Oldham tomorrow night at Sheffield Hallam University Sports Park, by the way, if you fancy going down to watch some rugby league. Sheffield Tigers Speedway in action against Cradley tonight at Ollerton. A win and a draw against Redcar last week leaves them doing very well in the league. There's so many games in hand and stuff like that. Not quite sure how it's working out, but they're right at the top. So if a good result tonight, well, not many games left, 5 or 6 meets left of the season. Good chance for them to pick up some silverware. Cricket, well, we never know what's going to happen with the rain, so we'll just mention that Hallam Cricket Club, who are the oldest cricket club in this area, they actually won the T20 championships for the South Yorkshire for the 3rd time in 4 years. That's a really good achievement. And we'll finish off with a little bit of golf as well. French Open this week at Le Golf National in Paris. Matt Fitzpatrick 3 over par 74 to open things, and Danny Willett 75 4 over par for them, both outside the top 80. Need some good ones tomorrow morning to make the weekend.
Thank you very much, James. I was frustrated last Saturday. I was, as you know, I was intending to go to Abbeydale Park for Sheffield Collegiate, first team game down there. I think Billy Root was going to play.
He was.
Heavens opened about an hour before scheduled start. Absolutely no way. It must have been a lake. Never got out of the house. Never got out of the house. All sorts of events, by the way, at your football. It's not just Craig Armstrong and the football game at 3 p.m. at the Jubilee Sports Ground, Claywheels Lane, Sheffield. That's out Hillsborough way, I think. I've never been there. We're going to have to find my way there. Events from 11 a.m. including stalls, penalty shootout, bouncy castles, etc. It's all in aid of Cash for Kids. The Hallam FM charity appeal. I think admission's a quid. You get a lot. It's a minimum of £1. It's a donation, and put in a £5, please, or more, because it's all going to that particular charity, Redsbury Blues. Let's come on to our Reds. We come on to Nottingham Forest just briefly. Your former team have appointed a new manager this week, or I think they're calling him a head coach, as is the current way with these things, and a foreign one as well. Not come across the name, but he's got a good track record, Philippe Montagnier. I think if that's the way you pronounce it. He's been at Real Sociedad and Rennes. He's had some success. What do you make of that appointment?
Strange one. I think it could be good. It could go bad. My main concern is his backroom staff, how much they know each other. What I'm hearing, I'm not sure it's enough. I don't know whether the backroom staff have been appointed by the chief executive and Fawaz has appointed the manager. However, if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, it's just another Fawaz mess up again.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, they're waiting on the takeover to be ratified. I think the Olympic Arcos owners trying to buy it, or buying into 80% of the club. They've come out of the embargo, which is fantastic. They've brought in a player, obviously, who has played at Everton, scored a few goals for them. So, listen, it can't get any worse than what it was.
No.
It's a shame because it's got great history, but the history's gone. And it's about going forward, isn't it?
Looking from the outside, I'd be surprised if that guy's still, if he completes the season, Forest. But then again, if we go back a year to this time, and we're on the anniversary, the first anniversary, I think it's today, of Carlos Carvalhal being appointed by Sheffield Wednesday, we'd have probably said the same. Hardly heard of this guy. He won't last the season.
When you said that, that was instantly what I thought. I thought it could be a Carlos Carvalhal type appointment with a bit of pedigree. But then again, how many of those sort of strange appointments actually then come off? You don't see many, do you?
What do you think? What do you think of the Carlos one?
I mean, I think that's fantastic. You know, he's got Lee Bullen there, who's been at the club for years.
How important is that?
I think he knows the league. I think, you know, when the manager comes into Sheffield Wednesday, I don't know what backroom staff's there and what's not. And I know Lee was doing the 21s, but his progression up to the first team, whether he's in and around it all the time or whether he's sort of a backseat a little bit, I don't know. But what I do know is that I'm sure there'll be people within the club that know the infrastructure inside out. They also know the league inside out, which is important. So the players that you're trying to buy, the rumour are they're trying to buy McCormick from Fulham for offered 11.5 million, I think, for him, I've been told. Where that goes ahead, I don't know. I've been told that today.
Have you really? That they've offered what?
A lot of money for him.
11.5 million.
Apparently so, yeah.
That's his price tag, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I think so, yeah.
You actually think, from what you've heard,
on big wages as well.
from sources that you've heard of from within the game
from
today?
Good sources I've heard in the game, and my comment was, what, he earns that much money as well? You know, good luck to him. He scores goals, and I think some of the players that he's brought in at the club are fantastic. But sometimes when you have money doesn't always bring you success, which is why the club had a demise so many years ago with obviously, you know, Wim Jonk and people like that, and getting relegated. You're obviously in a financial mess, aren't you?
What do you think? Having had this tip-off, and you know, I'm not disputing your sources. We have grades of sources, and sometimes the people who've never let you down, and you completely trust. You sound quite convinced about that offer. Do you think he'll end up at Wednesday?
But you know what I mean? 11 million, is that a lot of money? Was it Troy Deeney went to Burnley? Was it?
It was Damari Gray.
Damari Gray went to Burnley for not Damari Gray. Andre Gray went to Burnley for 9 million. Who would have paid 9 million? It's the market that it is today.
He proved worth it.
Yeah,
I mean, they had the money because of the guy
you imagine
leaving.
Maybe a McCormick coming into a team like Sheffield Wednesday, who do create opportunities, who do create chances. He's going to be in a better team. Then maybe, if it is true, he could be the catalyst that you need to obviously propel you up the league.
Would you pay that for him?
From what Craig said, you know, he at Fulham in the last 2 seasons have been a very poor side.
Yeah,
they've not scored many goals. He has scored. I'd love to see what percentage of his team's goals he's scored. At Leeds, he was the same. A poor team, sort of bottom half of the division, and he was scoring goals with no players around him. Ross McCormack would be a great signing for Sheffield Wednesday. If you've got to pay 11 million for him, if you've got that kind of money, you pay it. Of course you do.
Would you pay it, Craig? 11 million.
Would I pay him? I mean, I don't really.
If you had it, I mean,
if I had it, knowing the league and the value, if he scores goals and goal scores are hard to come by, then why not? You know, if it's nothing to the club, why not?
He seems a player that it's difficult to categorise as a striker, because you get your target man, you get your players that play off a target man. He often comes way outside the area. You find him on the left flank, the right flank, drifts around, can score a spectacular goal from outside the box. How do you categorise him as a player, or would you simply say you're a free spirit, go and do what you
know? I mean,
do?
I always see him as that person that likes to drop in and pick up and receive, but he's also one of these that does find himself in the box scoring goals, not just tap-ins. He scores good goals, and I think that's what you need. You need someone who can score all types of goals. Now, who's to say with good players around him, and he's proven in previous clubs but good players, he scores goals. Hence why he's moved for big money. I think 12 million, was it 12 million to Leeds and he went 12 million, is that right? And 12 million to Fulham?
He was slightly less to Leeds, but Leeds got rid of him because it was money they couldn't turn down.
Yeah, huge,
12 million, something like that.
And he scored a lot of goals at Leeds at the time as well, didn't he, in a struggling side. I mean, we go back to Nottingham Forest and the point I think I would make on that, that could be fantastic because it's fresh ideas. He's a foreign coach. He's going to have different philosophies that he wants to do. However, my main concern is that he doesn't know the league. His coaches don't know the league. Is he going to use people that are there? Gary Brazil, ex-Fulham and Preston Striker, who's academy manager. Will he use Gary, who does know the league, who's been in management? He needs someone, and what I've heard is they've got rid of the recruitment and they're going to go and buy players.
Well, it's the key to Sheffield Wednesday under Carlos Carvalho and the success. They kept the basis of what they had. Lee Bullen, Andy Rhodes, you know, and there was a familiarity there. And I think Carlos was particularly insistent on that. He wanted an English spine, an English base to the club, and that's worked, hasn't it?
Yeah, it does, and it will. I mean, listen,
British, I should say.
Forest, until Nottingham Forest, for me, get Fawaz out the club because the academy's been punished, the money's been pulled from the academy, people are losing their jobs, people who've been there 30, 40 years, have been sacked a year before the retirement on silly reasons, and you know it's disappointing, and yet people are getting punished who've been there years to try and get to the golden money and the pot of money that they want to achieve in the Premiership.
Before we leave Sheffield Wednesday, have you got any other tips for us? Who else are they bidding for?
I mean, God knows. I don't really know. All I know is that what I've heard is they're in a really good place and a lot better place than where Sheffield United are. I'm sorry to say.
No,
financially in a great position, and I think they're looking for a new training ground or a training ground to make bigger.
The infrastructure of Sheffield United is to be envied, including by clubs like Sheffield Wednesday. They've got a better infrastructure, without a doubt, haven't they?
Listen,
facilities and everything. One
thing about Sheffield United is, which I do like to see, is they're signing boys from non-league, young kids. Their recruitment's really good. Ched Adams came from Ilkeston. Bearing in mind, yes, he was released from Coventry, and I know the academy manager at Coventry, and he said, we released him, wasn't good enough. Went to Ilkeston, did fantastic at Ilkeston, and friends who I know who've played with him, one of my good mates thinks he'll kick on, and he believes he'll move for 3-4 million. He'd think he's that good, but you might tell me differently.
No, he is. He's a very good player. He shows a lot. And
I think a season of Sharp and Adams staying fit with a team that gets the ball early to them, a lot earlier, is going to be a
great
good
manager.
season.
Good manager to bring in as well.
Yeah,
fantastic. Good,
popular with fans as well. And
ex-player.
The thing is, he doesn't like all the sort of the rubbish that comes with it. He doesn't like all the big money. He doesn't like all the players not working hard. I think he's just no nonsense. And,
old-fashioned.
I mean, we'll see in 12 months' time if we're saying exactly the same thing. But he does seem a bit old school, doesn't he, Chris?
Yeah, good old school values. And what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? That's what Craig and I say anyway. Not sure about you, James.
Well, we'll see, won't we?
You're slightly new school, you are. Right. Thanks ever so much to both Craig and to James, as ever. Thank you to you for watching. I do hope, again, I'm sorry to keep plugging this, but I do hope again that I'll see you. Dom Howson from the Sheffield Star is also coming, so do come and have a chat with us at the Jubilee Sports Ground, Claywheels Lane, for the Reds v Blues charity game. The whole day kicks off at 11 o'clock. The match involving Craig starts at 3. Meantime, 11 p.m. repeat tonight. If you've missed this, on my YouTube channel later. See you next week. Bye.